Hello again, and thank you for staying with us. The festive season is upon us, and it is at this time of the year where the country experiences high traffic volumes. The high road accident has become a concern for a while in the country. This afternoon, we look at how truck drivers contribute to safer and more enjoyable holiday seasons for all road users. And we are joined by Tracy Van Helsdingen from Unitrans. Tracy, a pleasure to have you on the program this afternoon. Now, in the context of the festive season, how can truck drivers ensure strict adherence to South African traffic and road safety regulations? And also, what role does regulatory compliance play in reducing road accidents?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll just give you a little bit of what truck drivers should be doing, and hopefully a lot of the organizations are already doing this. So if you're a truck driver, I hope that this is in place. So it's critical that the drivers know the safety rules of the road. Absolutely critical. They need to know of the speed limits. They need to know when the rest periods are. Pre-trip inspections are crucial. We need to know the brakes are working, the tires are in good condition, the lights are working, and all other essential components of the vehicle is in good working order before starting the journey. They must adhere to speed limits, absolutely, and then also knowing about road and weather conditions. Planning ahead, knowing your emergency numbers. They must comply with the regulations regarding to driving hours and rest breaks. This is really critical as we're starting to see in the industry that fatigue is starting to increase. Take regular breaks. So important, and make sure as well that when you're stopping at a truck stop that it's a safe truck stop. Ensure that you and your passengers buckle up, and please stay informed of weather conditions. Weather can change at any time. We need to know, are we going into hail? Are we going into a lot of rain? What can we expect during the trip? And then also the emergency equipment. So if you do have a breakdown, making sure your emergency triangle is there, making sure your fire extinguisher is full and that your first aid kit is available. And then, of course, stay in close communication with your dispatch team. Any issues, any emergencies, that's promptly reported. And don't use your mobile phone. Don't use any sort of electronic equipment in the vehicle. This just causes a distraction. No smoking in the vehicle. And then also that your vehicle complies with weight restrictions. If you're carrying a heavy load, it needs to be on the right weight, particularly going through weigh bridges. And then be mindful of increased traffic. So with this comes a lot of pedestrians on the road, and we need to be very, very cautious in terms of congested areas and residential zones. And then absolutely, strictly avoid drinking and driving.
Tracy, could you shed a bit more light on the economic impact of road accidents on logistics companies, and how much do crashes typically cost, and what measures can be taken to really mitigate these financial losses?
Absolutely. So right now we have statistics that indicate 3.5 of the country's GDP going to road accidents. And when we look at those numbers, we're looking at about 2,200 accidents per day. 2,200, which is incredibly high. And the cost of these crashes in logistics companies particularly, obviously substantial. There's various direct and indirect expenses, and of course the costs are not just limited to property damage and medical bills, but also operational disruptions, legal expenses, and then also potentially even a damage to the organization's reputation. Downtime for damaged vehicles if they need to get repaired, and then also delayed deliveries, affecting the consumer at the end of the day. Compensation for injured employees, possibly if you do have any serious injuries, and then of course insurance. With a lot of insurance claims comes an increase in premium, and this is an out-of-pocket expense for many companies. So it's just important to note that the actual cost can vary widely. It really does depend on what the load is, what the severity is, and of course the nature of the cargo that's being transported and the safety measures in place. If we can get promptly to the scene and make sure we can contain any spill, for instance, or be able to rectify anything that's going wrong. Currently, using a fire extinguisher, we can really save a lot of cost through that, and also protect the employee that is driving the vehicle. So implementing a robust and rapid safety response protocol and investing in driver training and really utilizing the advanced safety technologies can really help mitigate the risk of accidents and reduce the associated risks for a lot of logistics companies.
So ensuring cargo security is also quite crucial for road safety as well. What guidelines do you recommend for truck drivers to properly secure their cargo, to also reduce the risk of accidents and ensuring overall vehicle stability? You've already touched a bit on some of these points.
Absolutely. So the vehicle being roadworthy is critical. And that's why using an accredited transporter is absolutely crucial in this day and age. What the driver will do predominantly in the preload inspection will also look at his load and say, do I have the correct weight? Do I have the dimensions? Are there any particular special handling requirements? There would also be appropriate restraints that need to be used. And then looking at the load distribution, whether on the trailer or in the back of the vehicle. And it's quite important to make sure where the center of gravity sits, using blocking, bracing, regular inspections, even through the journey, and then using adequate restraints and making sure that even when you're on the road that nothing shifts, particularly if you have a quick stop or if you go around a fast bend, we need to make sure that that load is always in the center of gravity, and then utilizing edge corner protection where necessary, and just making sure that nothing can come loose in the vehicle while driving, and even in the cab. If there is an instance where we need to have a sharp brake or stop immediately, we don't want anything to injure the driver that's lying around in the cab.
I guess this also touches on route planning strategies as well. Maybe let's get into that. Navigating through potential road closures, construction and heavy traffic is also posing a huge challenge for the industry, especially during the holiday season. How can truck drivers then effectively plan their routes to also enhance safety and prevent accidents?
Very, very critical. So one of the strategies or criteria is really to be able to adapt and be flexible. Anything can happen at any time. We need to stay informed about road conditions. We need to stay informed about potential protests or unrest. And we need to be able to communicate with the driver immediately, either to divert the load or to make them stationary for a while until it's safe for them to go. So they always need to know real-time based current conditions. So as I said, flexibility is really key to successful route planning. Monitoring traffic reports, getting real-time information to be able to have best destination from A to B, checking those local traffic apps, and then also mitigating the risks from accidents. So we don't want to send vehicles into, as I said, protest areas or where there's already been an accident. Maintain that open communication and then schedule travel during off-peak periods. Not always possible, but early mornings and later in the afternoons is always better. So it just depends what time of the year and what type of load you're delivering. And then also in factoring the regular rest breaks. So critical that the drivers, after a certain period of time, need to have a rest, need to get away from sitting in the position of driving and go and have a good rest and something to drink and eat.
Yeah.
And then having this contingency plan and making sure that the driver is trained, that the driver understands that he has support in the background or that there is somebody looking out for him, particularly when it comes to combining the AI, the technology in the vehicle as well. Also part of strategic planning, and truck drivers can really use this to their benefit along with logistics organizations.
So driver training, as you've mentioned, is often highlighted as a key intervention to reduce road accidents. In your view, Tracy, do logistics companies invest enough in ensuring that their driver skills and capabilities are continuously developed and looked after?
So driver training is indeed a critical intervention to enhance road safety. Really, for me, it's one of the key drivers, and it plays a pivotal role in reducing accidents and improving overall driving skills. while a lot of efforts are made from logistics organizations, I still think there's a lot of work to do. We need to ensure that driver training programs are effective, that they are efficient, and that they continue. So it's about continuous education and training. Giving your driver a once-off training adds no value. It has to be ongoing education, ongoing training, and there must be refresher courses that are involved in the process as well. And they must understand what the regulations are. A big focus is mental health and well-being. So we have to recognize the importance of driver health and well-being at the moment. It's really, really critical. Implementing programs that address stress management, personal factors that come into that as well, and making sure that the driver is overall fit to be driving that vehicle. Continue with defensive driver training. And as I said, it's lifelong, continuous learning. We can always learn more. And also just about ensuring that the drivers understand what the technology does in the vehicle, that it's there to protect them and obviously to create behavior interaction. So where we can see fatigue or where we can see, alerts coming through, we can support the driver in those behaviors. And that's really critical. It's not just, to watch the driver and see what they're doing. There's very strict parameters around, the dash cams and all of that. And then further to that, obviously with the securing of loads, also safety and security training awareness. We see more and more the increase in hijackings and potential thefts. Our drivers need to know what to do in those instances. They need to know how to protect themselves. If they have passengers that are en route with them, with assistance, or if somebody's, attempting to break into the back of the vehicle, they need to know what to do and what support they have in the background. So for me, companies that are prioritizing the ongoing training, incorporating new technologies and fostering the culture of safety are really putting themselves in a good position and reducing accidents, and this ultimately lowering their costs.
And as we wrap up our conversation and also looking ahead, how do we address the evolving landscape of the logistics industry and also anticipating the skills needed to meet some of the business goals as well? Specifically, what capabilities are crucial to addressing systematic issues within the country, especially in the transport sector where Unitrans, for example, operates?
So addressing the evolution of the industry with logistics, transport, supply chain industry, and understanding the required skills really with the systematic issues in the transport sector involves long-term, strategic, and a proactive approach. We have to collaborate with key stakeholders, not only government, industry, also with our customers, with our employees, and even at the local communities in which we operate. It's really, really critical. So we must conduct thorough assessments of systematic issues affecting the transport sector. We look at the regulatory hurdles, infrastructure limitations, environmental concerns, because sustainability is becoming more and more important, and then develop scenarios for different potentials in terms of contingency plans. And how would we diversify the organization? How will we, if change is coming through, how are we going to shift and make sure that we can adhere to those? Ensuring that our business goals are aligned with emerging industry trends, also very important. We need to capitalize on the opportunities and then mitigate the risks, obviously, associated with the vast changes in the industry at the moment. And then the last one, embracing technological advances. Really a key topic at the moment. We have to be able to explore opportunities that invest in education, automation, data analytics, and innovations, and really use that to our advantage. And then just to say that companies need to really prioritize safety and compliance. It's really, really critical that we focus and we make sure that our employees understand that they're important to us. And we want them to come home safely at the end of each day. And I think with that, a whole strategy would be effective, and then just continue to be flexible, continue to be adaptable, and as change comes into, which is inevitable, that we can also adjust and be flexible to that.
Tracy, thank you very much for your time. That's Tracy Van Helsdingen for sharing valuable insights on the critical role that logistics service providers are playing in enhancing road safety during the festive season. I guess the resounding message there is that all road users should maintain vigilance, especially during this time.